Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today, we are beginning our early off-season preview series. We are going to be making a video for each and every team in the NBA here at the way too early mark in the off-season, going over some of their stats from the previous season and some of the biggest questions facing each of the squads as we get started in the earliest possible days of the offseason and free agency. So we are going to hop into it. We are starting off here with the Boston Celtics, as you could probably tell from the title of the video. So we are going to just sort of break it down. We'll start with some of their stats from the previous season. Had a regular season record of 57-25. That was enough to get them the second seed in the East, and it won them the Atlantic Division. The team went 11-11 in the playoffs after that and were eliminated in the Eastern Conference Finals by the Miami Heat. So that was the end of their season in terms of some general statistics for the squad. You can see them up on your screen right now. Second in offensive rating, third in defensive rating, first in net rating, pretty damn good. 20th in the league in pace, while having the fourth highest payroll in the league. So, kind of makes sense that the Celtics were in the hunt for as long as they were. They were obviously one of the better teams all season long. But now, going into this offseason, let's take a look at what they're working with here. We'll also be putting up on the screen right now the additions and losses to the lineup. And I do want to point out this is the additions and losses as of right now, right? At this point. Things might change in the future, but this is what they've got so far. They were able to add Kristaps Porzingis via trade with the Wizards. They also added Jordan Walsh in the draft, which I don't know if he's going to factor in, but technically speaking, he was added to the lineup. Meanwhile, in terms of losses, Marcus Smart, Danilo Gallinari, and Mike Muscala were all traded away by the Celtics. So that is what we're looking at so far in terms of additions and losses to their lineup. With that being said, we're going to get right into some of the biggest questions for the Celtics here, starting with question number one. The Celtics are clearly going for it this season. Do they actually win it all? Right? The Celtics have traded for Kristaps Porzingis, signaling to their fans, the media, the whole basketball world that Boston is in fact ready for at least one more genuine, full-on attempt to claim a championship that has honestly eluded that team for the better part of the past few years. They've been close repeatedly, multiple Eastern Conference Finals appearances, one shot at the finals where they did lose to the Warriors. So they're close, and they know that they're close. They just need a little bit to get over the hump, and they think they have it now that they've made that Porzingis trade. The trio of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis gives the Celtics a level of flexibility and strength on both ends of the floor. It immediately puts the Celtics' expectations right back at the top. I'm not sure they ever even really fell from that mark, even after they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, but expectations are sky high in Boston. Porzingis can defend and protect the paint, right? He can grab just absolute shit ton of rebounds. He averaged 8.4 per game in the previous season. He can score from multiple levels, especially from outside. Averaged 23.2 points per game last season and shot 38.5% from beyond the arc. So the Celtics have the flexibility to stretch the floor in whatever configuration that they want, right? They can play outside, they can play inside. They have a stretch 4 on the lineup, they have a stretch 5 on the lineup. Any way that they want to configure themselves on the offensive end, they have the personnel to do so, which is unbelievably dangerous. And with Porzingis in the lineup, you can make those adjustments. You could space the floor if you want to, without necessarily giving up your strength on the defensive end, because Porzingis and guys like Al Horford, guys like Robert Williams III are still going to be prowling the paint on the defensive end, making it hard for teams to match you if you try to go for that pace. So it's a pretty solid move here. Effectively, the Porzingis trade gave them a younger and mostly better version of Al Horford, who has been playing really well for this team. I really don't want to just straight up come out here and talk shit about Al Horford. He has been fantastic for them, but he is getting older, he is aging out, and he's dropping off in terms of his efficiency overall. So you bring in someone like Porzingis who can sort of fill that similar role and maybe a little bit more on the offensive end, play solid defense, still has the height and the reach. And I think this is the best shot the Celtics have at winning a championship so far in the Brown and Tatum era, so to speak, which is what, like 6 or 7 years. So definitely a move in the right direction for them. But that moves us on to question number 2 for the Boston Celtics. Bit of a follow-up to question 1. Who gets paid in Boston, right? Because we look at both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They are eligible for contract extensions of the absolute highest order. Max contract extensions are in play for both of them. I think technically speaking, Brown's eligibility is first, or he became eligible first because he was taken 1 year before Tatum. I may have those two switched, but one of the two of them has 1 year ahead of the other. But either way, they can both make max money. The question is, are the Celtics willing to pay both players that kind of money? Both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are multi-time All-Stars who would really get a max offer from just about any other team in the league. So this feels like a situation where the Celtics really can't attempt to lowball anyone. The only way that happens is if one of Brown or Tatum themselves comes out and says definitively, I am going to give the Celtics a hometown discount to try and help them out. Outside of that, I think you can't afford to try and give them a lower offer. So if the team doesn't want to be on the hook for that kind of insane payout, well, before we would have said maybe they consider moving someone, right? There were all these rumors about Jaylen Brown potentially being traded away. Now that they've gone after Porzingis, I don't really think you can do that anymore. You have gone all in, as we previously stated, but the Porzingis deal throws another wrinkle into this. Yes, you're going all in. You're going to keep these players, but Porzingis is in the final year of a contract. He had to opt into his player option to make this trade happen, so he's going to be looking for an extension or a long-term contract as well. So all of a sudden, if you're the Celtics, you've got 3-star players who are all going to command a whole hell of a lot of money, who are all looking to you to, sign those checks for them. So it's complicated for the team's financial plans. As we mentioned at the start, they're already the 4th highest payroll in the league. They might just have to go the way of the Warriors and just say, we're willing to take that luxury tax hit if it does mean getting ourselves a championship here. So, and for the Warriors, it worked pretty damn well, right? They won multiple titles, and now the bill comes due for them in terms of that luxury tax. But you got a couple of banners to hang, you got some trophies for the trophy case. A lot of people would argue that that was worth the price tag if the owner or ownership is willing to pay it. So if you're the Celtics, it may just come down to how well they do. If this team flames out somehow, if they don't come anywhere close to that championship that they're seeking, maybe they do look to offload and avoid making those massive payments just yet. But as of right now, that is a question in the back of everyone's minds. Who's going to get paid? 3 guys are all going to command a pretty hefty price tag. But, well, that's a problem for the future. For right now, though, the Celtics do have one final issue, question, whatever you want to call it, and that is what changes occur around the edges of this lineup, right? Outside of the core players. And this is where things really get interesting, because the Celtics effectively cannot move on from their core now, right? They made the trade for Porzingis. It's going to be him, Tatum, and Brown for better or for worse this season. They're not going anywhere. The Celtics are going for it. So that is kind of set in stone, but you look at the rest of the roster as well. Players like Al Horford, players like Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, who didn't get traded before and is now back on the Celtics, and Robert Williams, they're all signed for at least this year. A couple of them are signed further out as well, but all of those guys are on the roster at least for right now. So, do the Celtics believe that the secondary group, the role players around Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis, are enough to lead them to that championship, right? It's mostly the same lineup that we saw make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this season and the NBA Finals last season, but do they want more depth? Do they think they need to make some further moves? They did end up losing Marcus Smart to make the Porzingis trade happen. So where do they look in terms of their guards, right? They could get Grant Williams back. He's a free agent right now. Peyton Pritchard, I think, is still in there. They may actually need to re-sign him as well. Not something I double checked beforehand, but the guard core is a little iffy. So the question would be, do they want to go get an actual full-on point guard, or is this just a scenario where we get one or two backups and we just have either Tatum or Brown be the guy handling the offense and actually handling the ball most of the time? Although in Jaylen Brown's case, I know there's a lot of Celtics fans who maybe don't want him handling the ball just because things went a little bit rough last time, but that would still be an option for them. And sort of, going in that direction, if they think that's the way that they want to go, do they just let some guys go? There have been rumors that Grant Williams is potentially on the move, that other teams in the league have been sort of showing him some interest, and the Celtics may look to not bring back some of those guys or even move some of the people on the roster right now because they think that their depth is enough. So now they start making financial moves to try and prepare for the extensions that could be coming to Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis. So they could go either way with it. They could either look to shore things up a little bit more, or they could feel like their depth is enough and stand pat, or they could feel like their depth is too much and try to make some cuts to save a little bit of money now before that massive bill hits later. So the Celtics have a lot of options. Honestly, I think maybe they want to take a run at one, not even high-level guy, one like mid-level point guard, just so that Tatum and Brown don't have to be the guys running the offense all the time. Guys like Peyton Pritchard, guys like Derek White, I mean, they're there, but I don't know. I think you want like one guy to definitively take Marcus Smart's former spot, even if he's not going to give you the same level of production offensively or defensively that Smart did. Just have a guy who is our clear-cut starting point guard. So, yeah, that is it there for the Celtics. I mean, they're already in a pretty fantastic position with the Porzingis trade. Honestly, they were in a pretty solid position even before they made the trade. Still one of the best teams in the East, and quite frankly, one of the best teams in the league. But now they get that little bit better, and they've got a chance to go and chase the whole damn thing, try and get themselves that ring for a couple of young guys in Tatum and Brown who have been close so many times. And honestly, getting a little bit sidetracked, but I want to go down this road anyway. It's starting to become a criticism against that duo that they have gotten so close and haven't been able to make it over the hump, which frankly, I think is still a little bit unfair. Tatum and Brown are still incredibly young by most standards, right? I mean, they've been in the league for a couple of seasons. They're getting up to like 24, 25 years old, in that range. But that's still not even necessarily in their primes of their careers. It's just that their early success is almost kind of spoiling some of the critics into thinking, well, what, why haven't they won it yet, right? But the fact of the matter is, they are not, well, they are missing these opportunities, but they're early to these opportunities. They're not supposed to really be here yet by what we would call the normal trajectory for these star players. They got here ahead of schedule. So yes, they haven't won it yet, but they should still have more opportunities in the future, like this season with Porzingis now in the lineup. So, yeah, they're going to go for it. They're going to see what they can get, win or lose. There is going to be a reckoning in terms of who ends up getting paid and how much money the Celtics have to spend. But if you are holding that trophy at the end of the season, you do not care about what the cost was. So, that'll do it for the Celtics here. The first of our early off-season preview videos. This is going to be the format for these going forward. We'll talk about the stats. We'll talk about who got added and subtracted from these lineups, and then I'll ask and then hopefully answer 2, 3, 4 questions for each team going forward. So that is the game plan. But let me know what you think. Do you think that this Porzingis trade moved the needle enough? Do you think that the Celtics do, in fact, make that run back to the finals? And do you think they can win it this time? They certainly seem to have the potential, if nothing else, but we shall see. But thank you all so much for watching. We've got 29 more of these coming, one for every team. So eventually we'll get around to your squad. Just please be patient with me. I am recording, editing, and uploading these all by myself, so it is going to take a little bit of time. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.